A magnitude 7.7 just slammed northern Japan and sent 175,000 people running for high ground. The tsunami warning is real. The damage is real. But tonight, what seismologists are actually talking about isn't the fault that just moved. It's the one that hasn't. Yet. Here's what Monday's earthquake just revealed about the Nankai Trough, and what that means for the Pacific. The Nankai Trough is an 800-kilometer fault sitting directly beneath Japan's most populated coast, Osaka, Nagoya, the greater Tokyo metro area. More than 50 million people live above a fault that has not released its full energy in 80 years. Japan's government published its official damage estimate in March 2025. A Nankai megaquake kills up to 298,000 people. It causes up to $2 trillion in economic destruction, and the tsunami it generates does not stop at Japan. It crosses the Pacific. Honolulu takes waves within hours. San Francisco and Seattle take them within a day. The JMA already issued a Nankai megaquake advisory once, in August 2024. Japan's Earthquake Research Committee has set the 30-year probability of this event at around 80%. And on Monday, Japan's fault network just reminded every scientist watching that this threat has never gone away. Here is exactly what happened on Monday, April 20th. At 4:52 in the afternoon, local time, a rupture tore through the seabed 20 kilometers beneath the ocean floor. The epicenter was 100 kilometers off the coast of Iwate Prefecture. The Japan Meteorological Agency registered a magnitude 7.7. This was the Japan Trench, the same fault that cracked on March 11, 2011. The same subduction zone where the Pacific Plate grinds beneath northeastern Japan at nearly 9 centimeters per year. Buildings in Tokyo began to sway within minutes. A CNN producer inside a Tokyo building reported the shaking lasted 7 full minutes. 7 minutes. That is not a jolt. That is a rolling, sustained rupture moving through the crust. USGS confirmed the depth at 20 kilometers, a shallow quake. Shallow quakes transfer their energy directly upward. That is why a fault rupture 100 kilometers offshore was felt 400 kilometers away in the capital. Here's where it gets alarming. A tsunami warning went out for waves up to 3 meters, nearly 10 feet, along the northern coastline. Coastal towns received one instruction: get to high ground immediately. In Kamaishi and Otsuchi, port towns that lost thousands in 2011 and spent 15 years rebuilding, families grabbed what they could and drove toward evacuation sites in the dark. A tsunami warning went out for waves up to 3 meters, nearly 10 feet, along the northern coastline. Coastal towns received one instruction: get to high ground immediately. In Kamaishi and Otsuchi, port towns that lost thousands in 2011 and spent 15 years rebuilding, families grabbed what they could and drove toward evacuation sites in the dark. JMA confirmed evacuation orders reached 175,957 people. That's 82,811 households across 13 cities, 21 towns, and 6 villages in Hokkaido, Aomori, Iwate, Miyagi, and Fukushima prefectures. Here is what the water actually did. At Kuji Port in Iwate, an 80-centimeter wave arrived. At Miyako Port, 40 centimeters. At Urikawa in Hokkaido, 40 centimeters. At Hachinohe in Aomori, 30 centimeters. The warning was later downgraded. The evacuation remained in force, and that wasn't even the most alarming data point of the day. Within hours, JMA activated something called the Subsequent Earthquake Advisory. This is a formal government declaration that a magnitude 8 or stronger could follow within 7 days. This advisory has only been triggered twice in Japan's recorded history. The first time was December 2025. Monday, April 20th, 2026, was the second. JMA confirmed. The probability of a follow-on magnitude 8 or greater has gone from 0.1% to 1%. That is a 10-fold jump overnight. The advisory runs through April 27th. It covers 182 municipalities, from Hokkaido down to Chiba Prefecture, near Tokyo. But here's what every expert was already thinking before the first aftershock arrived. Monday's earthquake hit the Japan Trench, the northeast coast. 400 kilometers to the southwest, a completely different fault has been silently loading for 8 decades. It has never fully released. It sits directly beneath the most populated corridor in Japan. That fault is the Nankai Trough. And Monday just put it back in the conversation. Who is directly in the impact zone right now? For the Japan Trench Advisory through April 27th, the danger zone runs along the northeastern coast. Iwate Prefecture sits at the center. Kamaishi, Otsuchi, Miyako. Towns that were flattened in 2011, rebuilt, and are now in their second evacuation in 15 years. In Aomori, Hachinohe Port recorded tsunami waves arriving. The Hokkaido Shinkansen was suspended. The Tohoku Shinkansen was halted. Japan's busiest rail line, the Tokaido Shinkansen, was also stopped. Ferries between Aomori and Hakodate were cancelled. At least 26 buildings in Aomori Prefecture were reported damaged. Roughly 200 households in Hirizumi lost power. 4 people were injured during evacuation. Now here is the Nankai Trough's target zone, and where U.S. viewers need to pay attention. The Nankai Trough fault runs from Shizuoka Prefecture, just west of Tokyo, all the way to the coast of Kyushu in the south. Directly above it, Nagoya, Osaka, Kochi, Miyazaki, Shizuoka. These cities have a combined population greater than many entire nations. If the Nankai fault ruptures at full force, official Japanese government models project tsunami waves reaching parts of the Pacific coast within hours. Hawaii, Honolulu, Maui, sits in the wave path. So does the U.S. West Coast. The 2011 Japan Trench tsunami generated waves that reached Crescent City, California, and damaged docks in Santa Cruz. A Nankai event, from a fault further south, closer to the open Pacific, would be larger. This is not speculation. This is the official government planning scenario. Here is the bigger picture. And this is where Monday's earthquake matters beyond what happened in Iwate. The Nankai Trough is one of the most studied fault systems on the planet. The Philippines Sea Plate is subducting beneath the Amurian Plate, sliding under Japan from the south, and has been doing so for millions of years. Every 90 to 200 years, that stored energy releases in a megaquake. The historical record goes back to 684 CE. At least 9 major ruptures are confirmed in that 1,300-year window. The last significant Nankai events were in 1944 and 1946. A magnitude 7.9 in December 1944. A magnitude 8.0 in January 1946. That was 80 years ago. The average return period for this fault is 90 to 200 years. Japan is already inside the window. Japan's Earthquake Research Committee revised its estimate in January 2026, raising the 30-year probability to approximately 80%. Their own statement reads, "The situation remains one where it could occur at any time." In August 2024, a magnitude 7.1 struck off the coast of Miyazaki, inside the Nankai Trough's rupture zone. JMA held an emergency session and issued Japan's first-ever Nankai megaquake advisory. It was a warning that the probability of a magnitude 8 or 9 was elevated. The advisory expired a week later without a larger quake. But the underlying risk did not go away. Now, fast forward to 2026. In the span of 5 months, Japan has seen a magnitude 7.5 trigger a Japan Trench advisory in December 2025, and now a magnitude 7.7 trigger a second one in April 2026. The Nankai Fault, meanwhile, has been quiet. Too quiet. Professor Yoshioka Shoichi of Kobe University's Research Center for Urban Safety and Security has noted that Nankai Trough earthquakes are statistically likely to occur once every 90 to 150 years based on documented past events. 80 years have already passed since the last one. Watch what that number becomes by the end of this decade. The scariest piece of the Nankai Trough data is not the probability percentage, it is the casualty estimate. Japan's government updated its official projection in March 2025, up to 298,000 deaths, up to $2 trillion in immediate economic damage. The Japan Society of Civil Engineers estimated long-term economic losses over 20 years could reach $11 trillion. That would be the most economically destructive natural disaster in recorded human history. So what does the coming week look like? And what are scientists watching? The immediate watch is the Japan Trench Advisory through April 27th. JMA has confirmed 3 developments that require daily monitoring. First, aftershock activity. Any quake in the magnitude 6 range or above inside the current advisory zone triggers a fresh tsunami buoy check. JMA confirmed smaller quakes across the region should be expected through the advisory window. Second, the megaquake window. If a magnitude 8 or stronger follows Monday's quake along the Japan Trench, the official JMA worst-case scenario from Monday's press briefing, tsunami models project waves exceeding the 2011 event along sections of the Sanriku coast, with less than 30 minutes warning for coastal populations. That is directly from JMA. Third, nuclear facility monitoring. As of Monday evening, Hokkaido Electric Power and Tohoku Electric Power both confirmed no abnormalities at their idled plants. That monitoring runs continuously through the advisory period. The best-case scenario, Monday's advisory window expires on April 27th without a larger rupture. This is exactly what happened in December 2025. The advisory ran its course, nothing followed. But here's the scenario that no one at JMA will say out loud. If the Japan Trench stress event of April 20th loads additional pressure onto adjacent fault zones, if seismic coupling along the Nankai segment tightens in the coming months, then scientists say the Nankai Trough's already elevated risk could inch higher still. This is not confirmed. But it is what some seismologists are watching in the data right now. The number to watch through the end of April: any JMA press briefing that mentions the Nankai Trough alongside the current Japan Trench advisory. If those two systems appear in the same official statement, that is the signal. Pacific tsunami warning networks are already on elevated awareness. The United States Geological Survey is monitoring. International seismic stations across the Ring of Fire are running full data feeds. This is not a regional story. This is a Pacific story. 3 things to take from everything you just watched. 1. A magnitude 7.7 struck the Japan Trench on April 20th, triggering tsunami warnings, evacuating 175,000 people, and activating only the second subsequent earthquake advisory in Japan's history. 2. The Nankai Trough, a completely different fault directly beneath Osaka, Nagoya, and over 50 million people, is 80 years into a 90 to 200-year return cycle, with the Japanese government projecting up to 298,000 deaths and $2 trillion in damage when it finally goes. 3. Its tsunami crosses the Pacific. Hawaii and the U.S. West Coast are in the wave path. This is not a future problem. Japan is already inside the probability window. If you want to track what happens between now and April 27th, subscribe. I post the moment-verified data moves on either fault system. Coming next. In August 2024, a magnitude 7.1 off Japan's southern coast triggered the first-ever Nankai megaquake advisory, and most people outside Japan never heard about it. That event is the missing context for everything you just watched. That video is on the screen right now. It fills in the piece that makes Monday's earthquake make complete sense. Stay safe.